So when I actually walked out to the stadium, it was the first time I'd been in the Olympic Stadium. And I remember walking out, we had our masks on and it was, there was a black curtain and the curtain opened and we walked out into the stadium and I just had shivers because the stadium was so big and it was so bright, but it was so empty. There was no one in it, and they were all it was pretty strange. And like as a runner, we're not used to having massive crowds like a football stadium. So it's not, racing in a crowd is not what necessarily, gets you around the track. But just that moment of walking out into this massive stadium and almost feeling that kind of sense of loss that there was no one in the crowd. And then just, all you could hear was click, 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 cameras. It was just crazy.
Hey guys, welcome to the Happy Way podcast, your go-to place for all things fun, happiness, well-being, growth, trust, and diversity. I am your host, Melissa Fideli, and I am here to inspire and connect everyone who chooses health and happiness so you can be your healthiest self and live life the happy way. On today's episode of the Happy Way podcast, our special guest is an Olympian runner, Izzy Batt-Doyle. She represented Australia and competed in the women's athletics 5K at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Izzy is a vegan athlete and nourished herself for the Olympics with plants, which is pretty awesome. Today, she is here to share her story and give us some tips on how to properly fuel your body as an athlete, how to become a strong runner, and why you should always follow your dreams. So welcome, Izzy. Thank you for coming on the Happy Way podcast.
Thanks, Melissa. It's great to be here.
Of course. Thank you. So we have to know all about your journey to becoming an Olympian. When did this start for you and when did you know that athletics was something that you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, look, it's been quite a few years in the making.
Yeah.
I started running when I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
I had an older sister. She was pretty athletic and I followed her out to athletics here in Adelaide. And just like any younger sister does, follows what their older sister does.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I did everything, shot put, long jump. But I just loved the running events and the longer the distance went, the more comfortable I felt and the better I was. So I guess I naturally progressed doing that. And I remember when I was 9 years old, I ran the City to Bay, the 6K event. With my stepdad, and we actually held hands the whole way and then crossed the line together and got a photo in the paper, and it was all very fun. And that was kind of the first kind of memories I have of my running career. But I think back then no one would have thought that I'd ever be an Olympian 15 or 16 years later. Here we are now. But it's been a pretty amazing journey. But started running when I was quite young and just really progressed. But I wasn't a great runner when I was younger. I just enjoyed it. But I made my first state team when I was 10 years old and got to go to Hobart and run at the National Cross Country Championships. But I look back at the results just recently and I came 19th out of 29 girls. So, I wasn't some young prodigy winning races. I was just happy to be there. And I think one of the reasons why I've had a long career in the sport is because it's really been focused on just enjoying it and having fun. I wasn't super competitive when I was younger. I just wanted to make the teams, get to go on trips, make new friends, get a new tracksuit, have some fun. And then I guess I became more competitive as I was a bit older. So I was lucky enough that my running, I did improve as I was a teenager, and I was actually offered a scholarship to go to America when I was 18 and have do an athletic scholarship, live in America, get my degree paid for and run for university over there. So that was kind of the start of my real running career, I guess, in a sense.
And how was that experience being over there?
Yeah, it was amazing. So I moved over to New York City when I was 18 years old, which was incredible, but it was just very tough to leave my family behind and, my friends and everything back here in Adelaide being, very comfortable and happy here. But I kind of knew even at that age that I wanted to have an extraordinary life. And I think I had that sense within me that this was an opportunity that I was presented with that I really couldn't give up. So I decided to pursue that dream, move to New York and give it a go. I loved it. New York was incredible. Unfortunately, the college I went to wasn't super competitive in a running sense. So I realised that I actually was a big fish in a small pond, and that's essentially what Adelaide had been for me. So I actually transferred to another university, the University of Washington in Seattle, other side of the country, and was challenged a lot more. And that was a very challenging experience, but it shaped me into the person I am today, and
wow.
I'm very grateful for that. So, yeah.
Do you think that experience really developed you as a runner?
Absolutely, yeah. I just don't think I would have had the same opportunities here in Adelaide, in Australia. The kind of money that goes into sports in America is just next level. We're really treated like professional athletes, even at that college level. The coaches are on massive salaries.
Wow.
There's, nutritionists, weight coaches. There's just so many things given to you there. All the shoes and gear and all the facilities are incredible. But yeah, it was a challenging time. We actually had a coach who was a little bit questionable in the way he did things, and it was a pretty toxic eating disorder culture on the team there, which I struggled with, as my sister had actually had an eating disorder when she was younger, and that's why she had given up sport. So it was a challenging few years, and I developed quite a few injuries through that time, probably just from the stress that I was under, not only physically but mentally.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a cool experience.
It was amazing though.
Yeah, because like you said, you were young and you just enjoyed it. You loved it, and then you took it a little bit more seriously, and then things kind of happened, which is great. Yeah. So how do you get selected for the Olympics? What is that process like, and how was that experience for you? Yeah,
so it's a pretty complicated one, and I guess for me it goes back to the fact that I moved back to Australia in 2019 after being in the States, and the Olympics weren't really on my radar. I think every young athlete's dream is to be an Olympian. It surely was mine even when I was 13, 14 years old, but it wasn't really a realistic goal. And in 2020 I actually had 2 broken feet, so I was recovering from an injury and I was hobbling around. I was not running anywhere. So if the games had gone ahead in 2020, I wouldn't have been on the team. So really it's a silver lining for me that they were postponed, because it gave me the opportunity to get healthy and just get kind of back into the routine. But in terms of qualifying for the Olympics, essentially the system is you have to be top 3 in your country and run the automatic qualifying time. And there's this other system where you might be able to get in on points if you don't make the time, but that's not kind of guaranteed. So essentially last year in December, my personal best was 15:41 for the 5K, which sounds pretty good, but the qualifying time was 15:10. So I was a well off 30 seconds from qualifying. So it wasn't super realistic, but I was having a crack. I improved my time. I broke the state record last year in December. And that was really exciting for me to do that at a home meet in Adelaide. And I got to March and I actually ran out of my skin in a race in Melbourne and I ran 15:11. So I was 1 second off qualifying. And there are photos of me from the race and I'm kind of like hands in the air, like wide mouth, couldn't believe that I'd come, so close to qualifying. But that really made me realise that I could do it and I was capable. But the tricky thing there was that the races were drying up in Adelaide, in Australia, and I had to either sit at home and hope that I might scratch in on points to the Olympics, because I did have, I think, the second fastest time in out of Australian women, but I wasn't necessarily going to qualify. Or I had to get in a plane to Europe and actually go and get try and chase an automatic qualifying time. So 3 weeks later, got a travel exemption, packed up my bags and took a really big risk. Luckily, I had a very supportive family and network around me. And I went to Europe knowing that I wouldn't be able to come home for at least 3 months because of, just all the travel regulations. And if I didn't make the Olympics, it was going to be a hefty bill for me to have to pay to get home and do quarantine and all that jazz. So 1 week into my trip in the Netherlands, I actually qualified. I ran 15:04.
Oh my goodness.
6 seconds under the qualifying time, and I won my race. And that was incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was definitely a massive career highlight for me, crossing that tape and just knowing that I'd secured my spot in Tokyo. And I had to wait a month to be officially selected. It's kind of one of those processes. They don't officially select the team until July, so it's pretty, and then the race was only a month later, so it's kind of comes pretty late. But I knew I was going, so I could kind of celebrate in that moment.
Oh my goodness! So did you still have to stay there for 3 months?
Yeah.
Oh goodness! And then you had to quarantine when you got back. But you would have gone on such a high after that.
Well, once I qualified, I could really enjoy the preparation. And so I was lucky enough during this trip from May until August, I went to the Netherlands, Italy, Switzerland, Finland, the UK, and then Japan, obviously. So I had a great trip. It was so fun getting to travel.
So did you not come home before the Olympics?
No,
you went straight there.
Went straight there. So
Oh incredible.
Yes, yeah.
Good job.
But
That's
pretty cool to be able to travel in a COVID era.
Yeah.
I think we were like the only tourists in most of the countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you got
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well done. That's all your hard work paying off.
Thank
you. So in terms of training, how do you actually prepare for the Olympics? And aside from the physical aspect, how do you mentally prepare for such a significant event? What were some of the things going through your head during this time? Because I'm sure it was, you know, there would have been a lot of things going on.
That's a great question, actually.
Yeah.
I think, look, the physical preparation is, you know, years and years of running. I've been running for 15 years, more than. But, you know, my average training week in preparation for the Olympics is running up to 160 kilometres a week, spread across running every day, some days twice a day, you know, 2 gym sessions a week, lots of sleeping, good nutrition, all that stuff. And, but it's just a lot of running and hard work. But definitely the mental preparation is important too. Absolutely. And actually it's one of the things I probably didn't nail for the Olympics because I'd been used to winning races or, you know, being at the front of the pack and feeling like quite in control. Whereas, you know, I got to the Olympics and it was a pretty, you know, chaotic Olympics, just with everything going on. We're actually only in the village for 6 days. So it was kind of like in, out, in, race, get out.
Okay.
But so when I actually walked out to the stadium, it was the first time I'd been in the Olympic stadium. And I remember walking out, we had our masks on and it was, you know, there was a black curtain and the curtain opened and we walked out into the stadium and I just had shivers because the stadium was so big and it was so bright, but it was so empty. There was no one in it, you know, and there were all like,
so weird.
It was pretty strange. And like as a runner, we're not used to having massive crowds like a football stadium. So it's not, you know, racing in a crowd's not what necessarily, you know, gets you around the track. But just that moment of walking out into this massive stadium and almost feeling that kind of sense of loss that there was no one in the crowd. And then just, you know, all you could hear was click, 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 you know, cameras. It was just crazy. And, you know, mentally there, it kind of hit me that I was at the Olympics, you know, holy, like what is happening? But I just had to kind of stay calm. And I'm very lucky that I did my undergraduate degree in psychology and I did my honours thesis on mindfulness.
Amazing.
So mindfulness is something that I've always tried to bring into everything that I do. And it's not that I sit down and I necessarily meditate each day, but I just try and, you know, bring that mindful presence into everything I do. So, you know, in a moment like that when it's quite overwhelming and, you know, anxiety is building and you're feeling a lot of pressure, it's just kind of like trying to just take it in and take a deep breath and be like, wow, like I'm here. I'm so grateful. You know, I thought about all the times that I was injured in the past and wasn't running and just thought, you know, how proud would I have been looking back then to know that I'd made it to the Olympics. And just realizing, like, when I saw my picture on the screen, on the camera, just knowing that my family are at home looking at that image and knowing how proud of me that they would be. So it's just, I think having that like gratitude mindset is so important in everything you do. And like the race itself was incredibly hard. It was 30 degrees and 98% humidity and it was just oppressive conditions. And I really wanted to run a PB and I didn't, a personal best. I went in ranked 28th and I came 28th. So I pretty much ran to form. But, you know, I was disappointed because I wanted to do better than that. But, you know, it's all a learning experience. And at the end of the day, I was just so grateful to be there. And I think in times of, you know, pressure and challenge, it's just about being grateful. And actually a quote I heard recently from another Olympic champion actually in triathlon was that pressure is a privilege. And I really liked that because, you know, he kind of explained that, you know, you've earned that pressure. So if you can frame it in a positive way and let it give you confidence, then the pressure actually is something that you can, you know, make a positive thing rather than feeling that pressure really cripple you.
Incredible. Wow, that would have been such a surreal moment.
It was,
stepping out and even just running the race.
I know.
Like, what goes through your head when you're running, like in a race like that?
In a race like that, I think I was almost kind of just like blank because it was just so crazy. And you kind of have to, for me, I had to kind of, you know, take a deep breath because I was running against, you know, world champions, Olympic champions, you know, world record holders, you know, African women who've run a minute faster than me. And you kind of have to check yourself a little bit. And, you know, the British record holder was in the race, like, you know, just people that you kind of look up to and go, oh my gosh, I'm here with you. But that's one thing I really had to, at the Olympics, I had to kind of remind myself, hey, I'm good enough to be here.
Absolutely.
And you have to, you know, give yourself that credit that you've earned a spot on the track too. You can't get too overwhelmed by being around these incredible people. it's a funny thing, being an Olympian, because I think when I was younger, I'd think of Olympians like these superhumans, they're like untouchable. And then, you become an Olympian and you realize, hey, I'm just a normal person with has anxious moments and all sorts of normal things. So definitely not all superhumans, that's for sure.
Wow. Incredible. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. What a great story. So aside from the actual race itself, how was your whole Olympic experience? Being in the village and being around all these Olympians and, training, all of it. How was the whole experience for you?
It was pretty incredible. And just hats off to Japan, because they did such a great job of actually putting everything on. And it was sad because, so much went into it, and there was no spectators there to see it and really enjoy it, and, all the little intricacies of everything they did to make it amazing. But it was pretty incredible. I think one of the highlights was going to the food hall, the dining hall. So the village itself was incredible, and pretty much all we could do was be in the village or take the bus to the track. You couldn't really see Tokyo or do anything else. I didn't get to go and see other events or really mingle with a lot of people. In the actual village, going to the dining hall was just crazy. So you walk in, you put your gloves on, you've got your mask on, obviously. You sanitize your hands first, put the gloves on, get your tray and cutlery, and then you go around to all this incredible food. It was as big as, I don't even know, just warehouses on warehouses. It was so big. And just thousands of people in there eating. And I guess I love people watching. So you kind of sit there and eat your dinner and look around and guess what people's sports, based on, what they're wearing or how tall they are. That was just pretty fun. And just hearing the other languages and everyone chatting is pretty cool.
Oh my goodness. How incredible. So as I said in the intro, you are a vegan and you follow a plant-based diet. How do you nourish your body as an athlete? And when did you kind of make that transition to becoming, a vegan and adopting that lifestyle?
Yeah. So since I was younger, I had always been a child that didn't like to eat a lot of meat. I liked fish, and I just didn't eat a lot of red meat as a young child. So I think it was when I was 11 or 12, my sister, again, following in her footsteps, she decided to go vegetarian. So I decided to go vegetarian.
Yeah, of course.
So I went vegetarian for a year or two, and then I kind of transitioned back to eating, what's considered a normal diet, on and off through my teens. I was pescatarian for a while and then, vegetarian. And I tried to go vegan for a week when I was 17, and my coach at the time was kind of like, you can't be vegan and be an athlete. What do you mean? So I was like, oh, okay. And then went back to eating fish and some meat. But when I moved to America at 18, my first topic I did in uni was I did a project on the meat and dairy industry in America. And it just I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Don't want to take part in this. I think I will just go vegan. So having that, I guess, independence to be able to do what I wanted to, because I was living on my own and, in a new place, was pretty cool. But it had its challenges to start with. And I don't think I was necessarily, getting all the nutritional requirements in those first few months or even first few years. But now, having been vegan for almost, I think, over 7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, over 7 years. In November just gone. I guess I know what I need to have now. And I guess for me, it's pretty simple, really. I try and tell people, sometimes we get marketed, we need all these incredible things into our diet, but, just keeping it simple is the best thing to do. And for me, it's just eating, a whole foods, plant-based diet. Most of what I'm eating is just fruit, veggies, grains and that kind of stuff. It's nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Great. So we're going to bust some myths now. And these are all questions that I am sure you get so much of all the time. So we'll clear things up a bit. I'll say the statement and then you can respond with your personal experience. So the first one, number 1 statement, you cannot get enough protein by not eating meat.
Yes, absolutely not true. I think I get plenty of protein. So for a while, I actually used a kind of a tracker just to make sure I was getting the right breakup of macros that I needed in my diet. I don't anymore because I just know what I need to eat. But, as a vegan athlete, as a vegan person, you can definitely meet those requirements. So for me, I have protein powder, in a shake after every session that I do. So pretty much every day I'll have protein, which will give me roughly 20 grams of protein. And then, I might have a cup of oats for breakfast or somewhere somewhere in the day, that's going to give me another 8 to 10 grams of protein. And then for dinner, I'll always have something that's either tofu or beans.
Yeah.
So I'm, getting quite a big amount of protein in that meal, probably upwards of 30 or 40 grams of protein there. So I think, for the size that I am, I think I need about 100 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So I feel like I definitely meet those requirements most days, just if I'm making sure I get that, protein shake in and a meal that's got, something based around tofu or beans. For me, I really like tofu and beans. I don't like those mock meats as much. Just doesn't. It's not what I crave. But there are so many options out there now. The Impossible Meat patties. You can make really yummy patties yourself out of beans and veggies. Grains like quinoa has like protein in it. So
your 9 essential amino acids.
Seitan. There's so many things. I opt for tofu and beans because I like that. But there's so many options. And I tell people too. They say, "Oh, tofu." It's not really. It doesn't really do it for me. I'm like, does a raw chicken breast do it for you? Because essentially that's what tofu is when it's cold and wet and like out of the fridge.
You got to cook it.
But you got to season it. You got to spice it. You got to put some marinade on it. Like you just got to treat it like you would any other meat. And cook it, because if you just go and eat, just plain tofu, it's not going to be tasty.
No.
It's all about how you cook it and what you do with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the next one is you can't gain muscle and high energy levels by only eating plants.
Again, not true. Yeah. I think I touched on that a little bit in the previous question, but definitely. I think, it's all about, it's about, what you put into your body. So if you're just eating, I don't know, purely frozen pizzas and like mac and cheese.
Food, let's just say.
Like out of a box. Then you're not going to meet those requirements. But if you're getting the right foods in, it's very easy to do it on a plant-based diet. But it is important, just to make sure, you know what you need to get in and you're planning your meals so that you do get those requirements in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the third one.
And energy levels. Energy levels for sure.
Yeah, of course.
I think I like bounce out of bed in the morning.
Really? Wow.
Whereas I feel like when I used to eat, just personally for me, when I used to eat like a more of a normal diet for me, I felt more lethargic and I felt like, it took longer for my meals to process in my body. And it felt for me personally, just like running so much, I couldn't bounce back as quickly to go out for another run. But now, everything I eat, I feel like my body, processes it quickly,
really well.
it gets the energy ready to go and I'm able to actually use it. I don't feel as lethargic and heavy after meals as I might have once used to. So I think for me, the energy levels are really high, but I do take a B12 supplement as well. Just to make sure I'm meeting those requirements.
Of course.
Yeah.
Great. I was going to ask you, what was the difference between when you, ate meat and then you didn't? So, you just
such a long time ago, but I can just remember
that's
some
insane.
things like that.
Yep. And the third one, you are more prone to injuries when you don't eat meat.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I battled with that, that myth during my college experience because I had nutritionists and even doctors saying you're vegan, this is why you're getting injured. And deep down, I knew that was not the case. And it was true. The reason I had so many injuries was because more of a load management, I was just running too much. I wasn't wearing the right footwear. I needed orthotics. Yeah, there were just a few things going on. I needed to work out my menstrual cycle and my sleep, a few things like that. But I just feel like it is a myth and I don't think it's true, but it is, you can be healthy on a normal diet and you can be healthy on a plant-based diet. You can be unhealthy on a plant-based diet and you can be unhealthy on a normal diet.
Absolutely.
So it's just about trying to find that healthy balance, but
and what works for your body.
But a lot of the time people would say to me, you need to drink milk and you won't get these stress fractures. But I actually had a DEXA scan, which is like a full body bone scan. Had a couple of them and my levels were all really high. So my diet was fine. I have suffered from low iron pretty much my whole life, even when I was eating meat. So we have to just kind of work with our genetics and I know that I'm going to opt on the low iron side, so I need to take iron supplements whether I'm eating meat or not. And I have almond milk that's fortified with calcium and B12 and try and get those things up. But I don't think it is a reason to get injured. I think I'm actually less likely to get injured because my body's able to recover more quickly with the diet that I eat.
Interesting. Well, we've busted those myths, which is good. I'm like, I've got to ask these questions because I'm sure people would ask you all the time.
Definitely. I've noticed though as the years have gone on, had a lot of pushback in the first few years, back in 2014, 2013 when I was first, looking into that vegan lifestyle. But now, in 2020, 2021, people are more accepting.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot more role models out there who are thriving on a plant-based diet, showing people that it is possible and it's not going to hindrance your performance.
Yeah, absolutely not. Well, so what are your favourite plant-based foods to have before and after an intense training session?
Yeah, so my diet's pretty simple. Pretty much every morning I have 2 pieces of sourdough toast with peanut butter and banana and cinnamon on top.
Yum.
With some coffee. And then pretty much straight after I finish my run, I'll have protein powder with almond milk. And whether that's just on its own or I'll chuck that into a smoothie bowl in summer and have some granola on top. That's kind of my favorite way, in summer to finish a run is to have a big smoothie bowl with protein powder and lots of yummy fruit on top and granola. But I do eat like a lot of toast, but I opt for, high quality sourdough bread when I can. Bit of a bread snob.
Yeah, me too. I get it.
Yeah. So, and I don't have a whole amount of gluten in my diet because for a while I found that upset my tummy a bit. But I found that sourdough bread is fine for me before a run. But that's pretty much what I usually have. Otherwise, it's oatmeal, peanut butter, banana. Pretty simple stuff.
Oh, delicious stuff. Yum.
All delicious.
So you're also a running coach at Run as One Coaching and you run group sessions. For anyone listening, can you give us some tips on how to become a strong runner? And what are the do's and don'ts?
Yeah, that is such a good question. So I think I would start off with saying, if you're new to running, and a lot of people have gotten into running the last year and a half, especially when gyms closed, COVID.
Me included.
Yeah. And how good's running, getting out in the sunshine.
So good.
You don't have to have anything but a pair of shoes. Maybe your earphones if you're running on your own. And I would just say, it's all about making small incremental progress. So try not to do too much too quickly. I see that a lot with new runners is they get really into it and it's so great the enthusiasm that they have, but they do too much too quickly and then that might lead to either injury or just burnout, just doing too much, and then your body either says no thanks and you tweak your calf or you hurt your hamstring or you mentally kind of burn out because you've done too much too quickly. So one thing is just making sure you're just making small jumps. You're not jumping up in mileage really quickly. If you ran 5Ks yesterday, it doesn't mean you have to run 6Ks the next day. Just consistency and enjoying it is the most important thing. I would always say get a coach. Definitely helps to have that accountability. I know for me, if I didn't have someone who was kind of helping me set what I was doing, I would just probably go off the rails and do too much one day and not enough the other day and be jumping all over the place. So having someone who kind of knows what they're doing and is able to point you in the right direction and also help you meet your goals, I think is really rewarding and very helpful depending on what your goals are and what level you're at. There's a lot of resources out there, whether it's just following a basic plan or actually working with someone one-on-one. Also just running with a running buddy or a group is so fun. I find a lot of people think that they like running on their own, and sometimes it's lovely to run on your own. I enjoy a solo run from time to time, clear the mind, connect with the world. But it's so nice to run with friends and you kind of have that accountability. Like, if you're getting up at 6 a.m. to run on your own, you hear the alarm go, you might just turn it off and roll over. But if your friend's meeting you, at the lake or somewhere, you're going to get up and you're going to meet them and you're going to get it done and have a smile on your face afterwards. So.
I feel like when I have run, I definitely run further and I run faster when I'm running with someone else because like you said, it's accountability. You've got someone there, you want to keep up with them and you want to be like, I can do this. Whereas when I'm on my own, I'm kind of
I can stop now.
I can stop. I'm a bit puffed out.
And a lot of people in our group Runners Fun do say that. They're like, I can't believe like I'm running so much faster and more than I ever have. And I think it's kind of those breaking down those that mindset of being like, I can do it. Because you're chasing people in front of you. You've got people around you. So.
Before we finish up, I need to know, are you going to go for the Olympics again?
Yes, great question. So I'm only 26 and I feel like I'm pretty young, especially in kind of the events that I do, the 5K. I would say the age is more like around 30 for that kind of peak age. So I'm pretty young. I was 25 at the Olympics and 26 afterwards. I'll be going for Paris and I'm actually all the way looking towards Brisbane 2032.
Oh my goodness.
Good
on you.
I hope to do the marathon in the next few years.
Okay.
So at the moment I'm doing 5K, 10K. I'm doing my first half marathon at the Melbourne Marathon Festival festival in 2 weeks' time, which I'm really
Yeah.
excited about.
Yeah.
And then, I look towards doing a marathon, in the next few years, not sure when.
Okay.
And so I can imagine myself in Brisbane 2032 running the marathon at 36 years old.
Amazing.
And that's pretty young still for like women's marathon running.
Okay.
People, might be surprised, to know that it's more like in your mid-30s for marathon running that you kind of hit that prime time.
Yeah.
So I've got a long career ahead if I can stay healthy
Yep.
and keep enjoying it, which,
Yep.
I just love running. So I do believe that I will get there if I can just
Absolutely.
stay healthy and keep
Yep.
enjoying it.
Oh, good on you. Well, we can't wait to watch you on your journey. It's
Thank
incredible.
you.
So where can everyone find more of you so they can follow you? And if someone wants to check out your coaching programs as well, where can they go?
Yeah, so I am Izzy Batt-Doyle on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. It's just IZZIBATTDOYLE. But Runners One is my coaching business. I started kind of by accident actually in 2020. So it was just my mum and my partner's boss who we were like helping out with their running during COVID.
Yep.
And it grew to 10 people. And then we thought, now we're 20, we've got to put a name onto it.
Yeah.
So I chose Runners One because for me, I really want to make running inclusive to everyone. And in the group now, we have people, we have guys running really fast, sub 15 minutes for 5K. And we've got ladies running, running park run in 35, 40 minutes. So there's a massive range of abilities and it's a safe space for everyone to come together. And even if they're walk running, there's a place for everyone. But so we we started that last year, and in the last year and a half have now, got over 200 lovely people in our community. So it's an amazing community. And I have to say it's made my running so much more enjoyable because I feel like I've got this incredible community of people who support me. I support them. They inspire me. I inspire them. And it's just so super rewarding because, to be honest, elite sport and running itself can feel quite selfish at times. So I really found that I found a way for it to be, much more rewarding by having that community. So we're on Instagram. It's Run As One Coaching on Instagram, and also www.runasone.com.au. And while we are focused around the group training here in Adelaide at Victoria Park, Tuesday and Friday mornings at 6:30, I also do online coaching. So I work with lots of runners. I've got a couple of runners here in Australia and a couple over in New Zealand too that I work with. And it's really rewarding for me to feel like I'm having an impact on other people's running career.
Amazing. Well, we will put all of that in the show notes so people can find you easily. But thank you so much for sharing your whole experience and your whole journey with us, as well as kind of shedding some light on being a vegan athlete, because, it's amazing what you're doing how you're nourishing your body. And, incredible. I can't wait to see you at the next Olympics.
Hopefully.
Yeah, of course.
Fingers crossed. I'll be working hard for it.
Good on you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Melissa.
So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you have taken even just one piece of wisdom from this episode that you can apply to your life to help you grow and be a happier and healthier version of you. Please like, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and make sure to share us on your socials. Sending lots of love to you all. Bye.